The 13th and final round of the 2016 Eurocup Formula Renault 2-litre Championship takes place here at Estoril. This is our second race of the weekend, once again over 25 minutes plus one lap. And Sascha Fenestras, who showed great form in the race yesterday, has qualified his car on pole position for the second race of the weekend. Qualifying happened bright and early this morning at 8 o'clock local time, but in wet conditions after an awful lot of overnight rain and then tricky conditions on the track this morning. Track temperature slowly building, but we're still at only 20 to 11 local time, and it looks like wet weather tyres are the order of the day for the final race of the year. So welcome along to our coverage. My name's Johnny Palmer, John Hindhaugh of RadioLeMans.com to my right.
Morning.
18 degrees Celsius track temperature, 15 still ambient though. So these wet weather tyres, John, are going to struggle to get up to temperature in the early stages of the race.
Yes, and just a light shower of rain in the last 15 or 20 minutes, which has probably pushed the decision on the wets. It was going to be a tough decision had it not rained. The track cold and greasy. Now I think there's no choice. The problem is this circuit dries very, very quickly. The first sector down the hill to turn number one, that 90-degree right-hander, 90 degrees at turn two, then into the hairpin section at 3 and 4. And the back straight, middle straight if you will, round to another hairpin at 6, the parabolic interior. But this part of the track is quite sheltered from the little bit of wind that there is out there. Temperature's not too bad at the moment. Not sure where they took that 15 degrees from, but I would say it's a little bit warmer than that when the sun comes out. And we've seen right the way through this weekend that once the sun is out, and if there is no more rain falling, this circuit, this surface dries very quickly indeed. I think if I was at the back, might be saying to my driver, get out there on slicks and live with it in the first couple of laps. This is the 8th and final Renault Sport season weekend, with the Formula Renault Eurocup being at Monza and Imola on their own. The RS01s in their final race weekend here still have one race to go. There's Max Defoni, the RSGP driver,
who incidentally, far from trying to get second place in the championship yesterday, fell to fourth in the championship because of that non-finish. Remember, into the final lap, it was Lando Norris versus Max Defoni for the lead of the race in yesterday's encounter. They clashed at turn 1, and it resulted in Lando Norris coming through his car, and Lando already ensconced in the cockpit, ready to go. But Lando finishing with his worst result of the year, 16th position, and Max Defoni with a DNF. So Harrison Scott has in fact leapfrogged the Belgian into third position now. The championship standings, Lando Norris already champion, and that happened at Spa a month ago. Lando's on 235 points. Dorian Boccolacci firmly in second position now, 188. Third position in the championship, Harrison Scott on 168, and Max Defoni, after a non-finish yesterday, still on 163.5. From, in fifth position in the championship, Sascha Fenestras, who starts from pole position. This being a standing start race, pole position is to driver's left. All the other races being run this weekend are rolling starts, and we see the pole driver on the right-hand side of the track. This is a one-by-one staggered grid, looking at Robert Schwartzman, who will start from fifth position in the number 3 car.
Serious question. Might this dry up enough that people are going to chew their wet weather tyres, and might we see pit stops?
It's likely. It's a relatively short race, 25 minutes plus a lap, but if the tyres start to fall apart and you get the blocks of rubber that are the wet tyres moving around sometimes because they're so hot and really cannot cope with a dry racing line, and that's the last thing you want, is the tyre moving around underneath you.
The weather is coming from down at turn 1, so from behind this camera shot.
Yeah.
It was very, very dark, 15-20 minutes ago when we nipped out to go and get a restorative cup of coffee, and that was the splash. and it's cleared, and look, we've got shadows. We've got shadows now.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly it can change here. I think give this 10 minutes and there'll be more than just a dry light. It's not going to be fully dry for sure, but how long will those tyres last?
This is a highly abrasive circuit as well. Dunlop bringing a special tyre here for their championship. They're part of the European Le Mans series. All these cars are on Michelin tyres. I'm sure that's been looked at by the Michelin tyre technicians as well, looking after the tyres for the Eurocup Formula Renault this weekend. There is a good look at the grip level of a wet weather tyre, designed to move water from the track, but it needs water to work well. Weaving already starting to get a little bit of temperature then into these wet weather tyres. Obviously declared a wet race, even though we don't have rainfall at the moment. And the car's heading into the first couple of corners. It is going to be tentative stuff on the opening lap, and this is the first opportunity for the drivers to see the track in its current state. They qualified in wet weather conditions this morning, and Sasha Fenestraz with a 142.068 taking pole position for Tech 1 Racing in the number 11 car, starting alongside Max de Forny, now fourth in the championship. Lando Norris and Henrik Schavs, the local man, on the second row. Robert Schwartzman and Johan de Ruvela, who had a race to forget yesterday, tumbling down the order. Dorian Boccolacci, second in the championship, 188 points, starts seventh. Hugo de Sardalia, a podium yesterday, starts from eighth position ahead of Bruno Baptista, Junior Falqueiro. Harrison Scott now third in the championship, and then it's Marcus Armstrong 13th alongside James Allen, so a Kiwi and Aussie seventh row. Alexis Corneve alongside yesterday's race winner Will Palmer, he's got quite a bit to do, from 16th on the grid. Ferdinand Habsburg, His Highness, starts 17th alongside Alexander Vayayan, and then it's Gabriel Aubry, Nikita Troitsky, Frankie Bird, new to the championship, just taking part in this final couple of races of the year, and Gislan Cordeal at the back is one of the wildcard entries. There are a number of rookie drivers labelled as rookies because they're in their first season of Formula Renault racing, and Lando Norris is one of those drivers. Of course, he's won the championship and will start from third for this final race of the year.
Looking at the back of the track there, Johnny, a little bit of spray coming up from the Michelin wet weather tyres, but at this part of the circuit you can see the sheen has gone off them, and all of a sudden they are looking dry again. Little damp patches through the final, the 13th and final corner, the long right hand and centre parabolica, the parabolica exterior effectively, because turn 6 is just to the left of that picture on the left hand side of that off-road course that you can see in the background. Turn 6, the parabolica interior. Hardy souls have come out this morning, although it is a bit interesting watching down on the seafront this morning as I was getting the Renault Clio ready to come up here with shorts and shirt, and everybody wrapped up like it was the middle of winter. It's not that cold. It's mid to late teens Celsius. Obviously that feels a lot colder if you're from this part of the world, but we've got sunshine.
Yes, and temperatures aren't going to be quite as high as they were midweek. Beautiful day Wednesday and Thursday leading into this weekend, and then the rain hit on Friday and yesterday. There's been heavy rain overnight, so if any of these cars find their way to the grass, they will really struggle to get back onto the tarmac quickly. All the cars are now in position. You can see the rear red rain light flickering there, and that will remain the case for the whole of the race. Green flag waved at the back of the order, and for the final time in 2016 we're about to go Eurocup Formula Renault 2-litre racing. A good start by the looks of things for Sasha Fenestraz for the Tech 1 Racing crew. Yes, he pulls across the nose there of Max de Forny, but look at Henrik Schavs in the number 21 car. Terrible race yesterday for the Portuguese. He might have the race lead by the first corner. Up the inside there goes the AVF car. Can't quite snatch the lead from the Tech 1 Racing crew. Does everybody else get through? One of the SMP Racing cars off the track further back. Max de Forny trying to slot into second position and depose Henrik Schavs with the yellow mirrors.
Nasty little dodge across the circuit there, but Schavs has held on to second position there.
No, he hasn't. He's lost it to Max de Forny.
He's gone through again. And
that was Baptista off onto the grass in the background. Side by side for third position. That's Lando Norris trying to wrestle third away from Henrik Schavs, but it's Sasha Fenestraz leading on the opening lap then from pole position for Tech 1 Racing. Through the kink they go. The blue car of Max Deforny stays in second position. Lando Norris trying to trouble Henrik Schabs here for third place, but Norris, a 16th place finish yesterday, his worst of the season, is in fourth, and there's an awful lot of damp patches around here, just searching around for a little bit of grip, but the wet weather tyres can cope with this amount of water on the track. Lando Norris stabbing his car at the inside there at Orela corner, trying to get third position. Let's see whether he managed to squeeze ahead. He didn't. Henrik Schabs struggling to find grip there through the right-hand kink, approaching Gancho corner. This uphill chicane, traction at a premium on the exit. Oh, and Schabs all crossed up on the exit there. Really struggled to get any forward locomotion. He stayed in third position ahead of Lando Norris, and Sasha Fenestraz really enjoying himself out the front here, opening up a gap of probably nearly a second. We'll time that at the line.
Yeah, pretty decent opening lap for everybody, and maybe just the conditions making people a little more circumspect. Side by side out the final corner's always going to be difficult. There's much more water being thrown up than I expected to see, so wet tyres absolutely the right choice from all of the teams. There's no way you could have survived on slicks on that first lap.
There's Lando Norris having another go for third position. It was a second, by the way, 1.1 seconds between Sasha Fenestraz and Max Deforny first to second. Then this is the battle for third position, as further back there was a great fight between Bruno Baptista, Julian Falcaro and Jehan Daruvala across the line. There they are, and Jehan Daruvala's got ahead of Julian Falcaro, I reckon. RHGP car then losing a spot. Henrik Schabs deliberately taking a high line through turn 4 where there is a bit more grip. That is a positive camber corner, and therefore a higher section of the track on the outside of the bend is slightly drier. The two RHGP cars now running together. Marcus Armstrong for his first Eurocup Formula Renault action of the year. Did well yesterday in the early stages. There is the number 10 car of Hugo de Sadalier overlapping Harrison Scott, and they're fighting for 7th position.
Epic battle just outside the top 10, including Daruvala there, sitting I think in about 11th or 12th position. Whole gaggle of cars behind Marcus Armstrong, the 47 car, the white and black car, and he is sitting in 9th position. Yeah, so it's just on the outskirts of the top 10, and we've had an incident at turn 6, but I think that's going to clear pretty quickly.
Yeah, yellow flags have been withdrawn now, as you say, so maybe a spin and a continue for one of the cars. Hugo de Sadalier there with the yellow mirrors. Tech 1 racing car finished second yesterday. He has behind him Marcus Armstrong in the R-Race colours, and also the Julian Falcaro car, which has lost a little bit of ground after a good start. There's Frank Bird in the number 49 car, has spent the whole season in the UK racing in the British F4 Championship, which changed its name partway through the year from the MSA Formula to the British F4 Championship, and that is the sort of premium single-seater junior category in the UK. Frankie Bird, though, with a free weekend and an opportunity to race on continental Europe. There's the 18 car of James Allen. Started 4th yesterday, but lasted barely a couple of corners. Let's hope for a bit better for the Aussie this time. Fighting with Ferdinand Habsburg just ahead in the 62 car, and he jinks out of line, thinking about a manoeuvre. Yes, he has. That's partly down to a mistake from Habsburg. Although the next corner's a left-hander, and Habsburg, if he keeps the car there, can fend him off.
Very, very evenly matched, all of these cars, of course. 2-litre Renault 4-cylinder engines, all on the same tyre, all on the same chassis, and a great proving ground and training ground for young drivers. Slicks and Wings formula, normally. Groove tyres here, of course. And there is our leader, Sasha Fenestraz, the Frenchman, just coming through. Look, yesterday they were hammering that curb and the green bit to our left. Today, quite rightly, giving it plenty of room. I'll be interested to see, Johnny, just how quickly we start to get a drying line. Where you lean on the cars a lot, that right-hander coming into the S's here, and through the final corner, you'll see a line beginning to come up, a lighter line on the circuit. You can already see it actually in places there. Still a little bit of spray being thrown up And down the front now, I say he's looking for water.
I agree.
He's looking for water there, and we're barely 5 minutes into this race.
Yeah, these drivers soaring away at the wheels, just trying to get the cars pitched into the chicane and into the S's as well. But yeah, with the drive line now appearing on the racing line, the wet tyres are not going to like that. So that's the reason why I'm seeing so many people pull to the right-hand side of the main straight, where the water's gathered together close to the pit wall. And they'll be doing that all the way around the lap. But as you say, with only 5 minutes gone of a 28-minute race, near enough, it could be touch and go towards the end. That looks very dry on the racing line heading into turn 2. Now with a cliff face, more or less, to driver's right, just out of shot. But it's a steep bank there and a great spectator spot. Racing further down the order with Gabriel Aubry being put under pressure there by Nikita Troitsky in the number 7 car. Got 2 SMP Racing liveried cars there running together. So behind him is Alexei Kornev. Kornev with his car prepared by JD Motorsport. And they head through the kink. There is quite a bit of spray still to contend with back in the midfield, but it is lessening. And the question is, how long does this track stay damp? There's the James Allen versus Ferdinand Habsburg battle. Allen already had a sneaky look at the inside at turn 1. That didn't quite happen for the Aussie. And then a couple of car lengths further back is Alexander Peroni, who got on the podium yesterday. Bit of a surprise package, Peroni, new to the Eurocup Formula Renault. Finishes his for here's James Allen coming from a long way back.
Nice.
Not quite. And Ferdinand Habsburg,
no grip on the curb there, was there, Johnny?
Had every right to swoop across the line. No, but a couple of wheels on the blue and white curbing certainly didn't help. There's Bruno Baptista and Johan de Reuvel in similar paint schemes running together. They're just ahead of Habsburg versus Allen, and Habsburg going deliberately wide there through the parabolica, can apply the power a bit earlier than James Allen, arguably. And over the grid hatchings they go once more. All the cars dart to the right, seeking out the damp tarmac.
Definitely a line there, you can see with the sun behind it. It's not dry, it's still going to be greasy, but this is a super abrasive circuit. Slight mistake there, lost the front end under what is not very heavy braking there.
That's for third position. Lando Norris slotting up the inside of Enrique Chaves, but Chaves is going to get the place back again, although Lando Norris uses an outside line and he can apply the power a bit earlier than Chaves. He got the car straightened up earlier than Enrique and retains the place, but this time Chaves is right underneath the gearbox, right underneath the rear wing. He's going to try to the right hand side. John Hindhaugh saying that's the wrong line, but mind you, there's a bit more grip there.
Well, I didn't.
No, he's gone off.
I didn't like the fact that Norris picks the inside line and then moves back to his right.
Yeah,
he comes out defensively early on, which is fine, that's his decision, but then when the guy behind the 21 car of Enrique Chaves goes to the right, he moves in response to the guy behind him, and for me that's a no-no. It's an absolute no-no. Yeah, here's the start again.
We saw that from Lando yesterday with Max de Forny being edged towards the pit wall. Here is the start. Good getaway from Sacha Fenestras, the Frenchman stroke Argentinian with dual nationality. They're side by side for second, and this was where Enrique Chaves very nearly took the lead of the race.
Is he ahead there?
I think he is. Well,
I think at the apex of the corner he's leading.
Yeah, but the wider, the shallower line for Sacha Fenestras worked out for him. Or Will Palmer with a spin. So a win yesterday, but sadly for Will, struggling in the wet conditions. He's stone last.
He's on slicks.
Is he? You're right.
He's on slicks.
He's on slick. So they've gambled, haven't they? Down at that, it was a poor qualifying for Will Palmer at RHGP, and well, you might as well give it a go. A win yesterday, and let's see whether the weather comes to them.
Would have helped that he spun away, what, 15 seconds or so there.
Yeah,
true. But if these guys run out of tyres, and if anybody's got to stop, straight away you're going to leapfrog. How far back from the leaders is he, and what's his lap times now? He's 15 seconds off the leader. He's going to lose a lap if he's not careful.
Well, we're still waiting for Will to come home at the end of lap 5. Meanwhile, the rest of the race the rest of the cars in the race have already headed through sector 1, so he's at least a couple of sectors behind. In fact, Will Palmer, I'm worried that he's no longer running. In fact, been in the gravel, we know. Did he get out of the stones? has appeared at the end of lap 5, according to our screen. New fastest lap for Lando Norris, a 1:49.5, so charging hard now. He's wriggled free of Enrique Chavs, and of course he's trying to close down on Max de Forney, so it might be Max versus Lando part 2 for the weekend.
Palmer has come through.
Oh, good. Okay.
He's a minute and 7 seconds behind, but he's lapping well off the pace at the moment, 5 or 6 seconds off the pace. But let's keep an eye on that, because if Will Palmer can get some heat into those slick tyres, and if the wet weather tyres that we have on the leaders go away, as James Allen has another little look.
Still can't get it done. I thought that was well and truly position taken by James Allen. Now the next corner's a left-hander, and that finally cements 13th position.
Good driving both.
Yes, giving each other room, but hard and fair racing, and Ferdinand Habsburg will not be happy with that. There'll be opportunity in the remaining 13 and 3/4 minutes to get back in front, plus an extra lap, of course. And behind these two guys, just starting to edge away a little bit, Alexander Peroni.
Already the calendar announced for next year's championship, Johnny, another 10 event series with 8 Formula 1 tracks, Monaco back on the schedule again, and the addition of Pau.
Yes, which is obviously a classic single-seater race around the streets of Pau. It's tricky to overtake round there, but you need high skills to qualify the car well. And that will fall over the weekend of the 20th and 21st of May. They kick off in Monza, Silverstone the next stop, a one-off race at Monaco to support the Grand Prix there, and then trips to Hungary, to the Nürburgring to support the FIA World Endurance Championship, and then back on the bill with the European Le Mans Series, as it has been this year at Red Bull Ring in Austria, Le Castellet in the south of France, and Spa in Belgium. They finish their year in Barcelona at the end of October.
Now, Lando Norris in 3rd position, catching Max de Forney. De Forney in the light blue car. The red and white car is the Josef Kaufmann Racing machine of Lando Norris, touted as one of the next big things, which sometimes can be a bit of a responsibility, a bit of a difficult moniker, isn't it, to live up to sometimes. Nice catch.
Alexander Peroni pushing a bit too hard over the curb there. He's got Gabriel Aubry right behind him, and then the two SMP Racing liveried cars. Nikita Troitsky, though, is run by Fortec, and Alexei Kornev run by JD Motorsports. So they're not actually teammates, despite carrying the backing from SMP Racing. And heading through the parabolica, these 4 cars there. Parabolica, Ayrton Senna, again a little bit sideways. Aubrey on the wet stuff. Well, that's okay, because he's on wet weather tyres. Side by side.
Can't move across, and he has done.
That's Peroni edging off the line for Gabriel Aubry. So he says, OK, I can't try down the right side. Let me try down the left-hand side. That won't favour him as they reach turn 1. How late can Aubry brake in the purple and white car? He's going to try.
He's gone around the outside. That's brave, and he's made it work. That's extraordinary manoeuvre.
Brilliant. Well, there's more speed that can be carried on the high line through there, and potentially a bit more wet asphalt as well, which the wet tyres will like. And Peroni says, well, how on earth did he do that? And now all of a sudden he's got 2 more Russians on his tail. So first of all, it'll be Nikita Troitsky to try and find a way by. Alexei Kornev waiting in the wings as well, and in fact 3 SMP Racing liveried cars now, all stacking up behind Alexander Kornev. Lando Norris is right with Max de Forney. He's got that gap down to just half a second. It's less than that. It's a car length as they head out of Orella corner and heading now for Gancho, the uphill chicane. Sideways from Lando Norris, though, as he clobbers the curb at the right-hand kink.
The leader's not getting away from this either, interestingly enough. He's under 3 seconds up the road, and he's not making a real big gap of it, even though these two... Well, maybe de Forney at the moment isn't defending, so maybe he's not slowing himself down. Their lap times are very, very similar. In fact, de Forney last time around did his best lap of the race.
So it's Troitsky, Kornev and Vartanyan are the 3 Russians right together, and providing a 3-pronged attack here on Alexander Peroni. There is the blue and white helmet of Nikita Troitsky. Again, high and wide for the number 48 car of Alexander James Peroni. A podium yesterday. He's going to struggle to get into the top 10 at this rate, running around in 16th position with 17th, 18th, 19th snapping at his heels.
And just looking at the lap times of Will Palmer, by the way, he's still well off the pace. So those dry weather tyres aren't working. The track hasn't come to him. It was a outside chance, having had a bad qualifying session, but it hasn't paid off.
Yeah, Will qualified in 14th place, and from RHGP I think they said, well, let's roll the dice, see where we get to. It isn't raining as we start the race, and it may well dry up sufficiently. Well, we've still got 10 minutes to go and a little bit more. Max Deforny, a job on his hands here to keep Lando Norris behind. This is the reverse, of course, from the order yesterday when they clashed at turn number 1. Sacha Fenestraz still out front. 3.1 seconds is the gap, and the two cars behind him lapping at a similar pace.
Norris is quicker here, there's no doubt in my mind about that, Johnny. He's got to pick his spot though. Both of them looking for the damper areas of the track to keep those Michelin wet weather tyres cooled down. Unfortunately, once you get into a racing situation, you don't always have the opportunity to do that, and that may well put a little bit more stress on the tyres for these two guys. But you can see that Norris is flat drifting that car, four-wheel drifting. He's really throwing it in. Now that is the surface drying rather than the surface being wet, I think.
Yes, I would agree. On the outside of the Parabolica, certainly, as they hug the outside white line. This is Troitsky being overtaken by Alexander Kornev. So the SMP drivers starting to stack up a little bit, and Kornev spots an opportunity to get by Vartanyan as well. That's Vartanyan right behind, I beg your pardon. So actually what's happened is Kornev's lost touch with Troitsky up ahead, so there was no positional change. This is Hugo de Sadeleer around the outside of Harrison Scott, so they're fighting for a position towards the lower order of the top 10. Oh, it's 7th and 8th, in fact, and that is 7th position going the way of the Swiss. Hard onto the brakes for Harrison Scott, the man from Chelmsford in Essex, and he is run by AVF, by Adrian Vyers, the former single-seater driver, now looking after a team of 3 drivers.
New fastest lap of the race last time around by our leader, Sacha Fenestraz, and that has eased him just to around about 3.5 seconds away from the chasing pair. That's, I think, a good move. Was that a yellow flag I just saw waved there for a moment? Withdrawn almost immediately. Still 7.5 minutes plus a lap at around 2 minutes, so really got the sharp end of 10 minutes still to go here. 3.6 seconds that gap between the leader Sacha Fenestraz and these two, and this is a different tactic this time from Lando Norris in the 7. He's done the over and under into the S's, and that's compromised the entry for that blue car of Max Deforny.
I thought there was contact again there for a second,
Close.
but I think they just got very, very close. It's interesting to watch them through that really quick right-hand kink before the chicane as well, because Max Deforny staying well off the curbs. Lando Norris happy to absolutely smack them with nearly all 4 wheels off the track. Again, hunting for the wet parts of the tarmac down the main straight, so hugging that white line past the pit wall.
Isn't there is it me, or is there less spray coming up now, Johnny? I do think they're just about going to get away with this, but just about. These Michelin tyres are very, very good indeed, the wet weather tyres on the transition back. Certainly talking to the guys who use them in the ELMS and the World Endurance Championship, when a lot of people are thinking about putting intermediates on, you can go a very long way. Oh, that's a bit naughty.
2 teammates having a ding-dong scrap here, and
Marcus
that was
Armstrong.
Yeah, trying to fend off Julien Falqueiro, but steering across the nose of the Frenchman. And here comes Bruno Baptista trying to get involved in the number 6 car. Johan de Ruvela in the 2nd black machine, and who else is that? James Allen, by the looks of things, in the 18. Yes, having got free of Ferdinand Habsburg away in the distance there, we now have this 5-car gaggle heading out of turn 4. Armstrong out front then of this little batch of 5 cars from Bruno Baptista and Julien Falqueiro, Johan de Ruvela and James Allen. And up the road is Harrison Scott, wagging the tail of his Formula Renault.
Oh, big dive down the inside by de Ruvela, and he gets alongside, and he will make that stick into turn number 6.
I think Falqueiro saw him coming and gave him racing room there.
It's not over.
Over the rise, far from that. Here's de Ruvela. Getting a place taken back from him, because Falqueiro thinks, well, the next corner is a right-hander that favours me. Meanwhile, back to the 2nd place fight, and again 4-wheel drifting for both of these cars. Max Deforny trying to apply the power Still faster times coming through, whether they be personal bests or absolute bests, and that's an indication that the track is getting drier. There's a new absolute best time for Sector 3 there for the race leader Sasha Fenestras, so the gap's now up to 4 seconds back to these battling duo for second position, and Max Stefani far more concerned about Lando Norris behind than the race leader.
And keep an eye as well on 4th and 5th, Chavs and Boccolacci.
Here they are.
They are having a cracking scrap at the moment for 4th, but they're not actually losing that much ground, and if anything they might just be closing in. They're only 4 seconds behind the battle for 2nd and 3rd.
And Norris is through. He finally gets the place on Max Stefani. That was at turn 3. We didn't see the approach to that, but on the exit of turn 3, Lando Norris slots his Josef Kaufmann car up the inside of the RHGP blue machine of Max Stefani, and now can Max stay with Lando Norris, the 2016 champion? Gap also coming down behind between 4th and 5th place cars, and here are the 5 machines circulating all together. James Allen just off the back of this train now, but there is Marcus Armstrong, and this will be a replay, I think, of the manoeuvre for second position. Very late on the brakes, nearly didn't get it stopped, Lando Norris, but found an inside line and was getting a bit impatient there, I think, in 3rd position. And hopefully that wasn't kind of a do or die manoeuvre. He was always going to make the corner, but Max Stefani needed to be wise to Lando Norris and his approaches. So now I reckon that gap's going to start to open up a little bit. Lando Norris instantly does the fastest Sector 2 time of anybody in the race, so he is starting to bridge that gap. He wants a race win to end his season.
Marcus Armstrong doing a great job here, but we aren't all of a sudden going to get something in the region of 7 cars battling. There's Fenestras. That's just over 3 seconds, that gap. In fact, it's just come down to 3.8. It was a moment or two ago, it was just over 4, and that seems to have come down an awful lot in the last few moments. There's the battle for 4th position, and that isn't by any stretch of the imagination over either. Am I guessing? I think that 9. No, he's also, just for a moment there, the way the light was shining on the 9 car's tyres, I thought he was on slicks, but it is wets for Boccolacci.
Done rather too well in the early part of the race to be on slicks, as we know from Will Palmer. Palmer's times are a bit more respectable now, 150.469 last time around. Quicker. Those slicks are starting to work on this driving service. 5 seconds quicker than he's been going recently, so it is happening, but it's too late. Needed to be a 45-minute race for him. And the Vartanyan car, Alexander Vartanyan, is now ahead, by the way, of Alexander Peroni. So the two Alexes having a good fight for the lower places. And wide there, wide from Henrik Chavs, and that gives Boccolacci the place. So Boccolacci still looking good for 2nd in the championship here. Into Aurelia Corner, Boccolacci up to 4th position then, with Henrik Chavs slipping to 5th. This is still a pretty good result though for Chavs, the Portuguese, who has continued to improve through the year, I think helped by his slightly more experienced teammate Harrison Scott at AVF, by Adrian Valles. And Chavs' best place so far this year. Need to just check down the order. He has finished 7th earlier on in the year and has got a 5th place actually, and that happened at Red Bull Ring, so that's his best result to date. And Chavs obviously relegated now to 5th position after that move by Dorian Boccolacci, but on to equal his best result of the year at his home race. Gaps continuing to come down at the head of the order. Now we've still got 55 seconds to go, so there'll be the end of this lap plus 1 more for Lando Norris, but he's got 3 seconds to try and find. This is Bruno Baptista close to the pit wall, battling with Marcus Armstrong, and right behind they've got Johan de Ruvela. But if Bruno Baptista can break a little bit later into the first corner, but he can't do it, the Brazilian can't do it, and round the outside goes Marcus Armstrong to fend off the position. It's all getting very tight though for 10th place, no, 9th place in fact in this race, with Johan de Ruvela then in 11th position. Julian Falqueiro is 12th, and then a bit further off the Aussie James Allen out of turn 3. Not a great deal of grip there. It gets grippier on the higher part of the circuit, and Armstrong back in front of Bruno Baptista. Wider line there from Johan de Ruvela. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. This time around then they will receive the final lap board. 1 lap to go, and Fenestraz still leading Lando Norris by 2.5 seconds after a new fastest lap last time around by the Bristolian in second position.
Yeah, it's going to be a lap or two too few for Lando Norris, I think, to get on terms with Fenestraz.
And all of a sudden, Will Palmer finds an absolute best time through the final sector. So those dry weather tyres do start to work. Sacha Fenestraz over the line. One more lap to go then for the Frenchman that leads this race. And what's the gap down to this time? 2.5 seconds. Again with a new fastest lap for Lando Norris in second position.
Yeah, he took half a second out of him near enough last time around. A little bit more, in fact. So Lando Norris on a charge, but was held up for just too long behind Max de Fournet, and that will cost him a chance of a victory here in this race. Armstrong still fighting that rear guard action with behind him a whole gaggle of cars. One slip here is going to cost many places.
Will Palmer quick again through the first sector. What a shame for him, running around in 22nd position. If this race had had another maybe 15 or 20 minutes.
Great move.
Wow. I thought there'd be contact there between the nose of Bruno Baptista and the rear of Marcus Armstrong, but he timed it brilliantly well, and the Brazilian is through into 9th place once again. Baptista has been there already in this race, so let's see if we can hang on to it. Meanwhile, Henrik Chavs, his 5th place position, starting to come under threat as Robert Schwartzman is not very far away in the number 3 car. These two nose to tail then for 5th and 6th, and Henrik Chavs looking to try and repeat his best result of the year here in Estoril. We're on the final lap. The cars leading the race in the second sector.
Yeah, they're just coming to the chicane now, our leader.
1.9 seconds is the gap.
It's closer than that, Johnny. It's much, much closer than that. Lando Norris can see the leader, but he's not going to be able to get on turn with him.
Hurling the car through that right-hand kink was Henrik Chavs. Meanwhile, let's concentrate on the race leader, Sacha Fenestraz, working his way through the Parabolica Ayrton Senna for the final time. And our final race winner of the 2016 Eurocup Formula Renault 2-litre season will be Sacha Fenestraz. A great drive there for the Frenchman, who started from pole position, and Sacha Fenestraz with his 2nd victory of the year. That will help his championship position for the final standings. And Henrik Chavs stays ahead of Robert Schwartzman to repeat a best result of the year. He got 5th place earlier on at Red Bull Ring in Austria. It's a second 5th place finish from season 2016, and in the end Fenestraz wins the race, by the way, after 15 laps by 1.9 seconds. Will Palmer's just posted the fastest lap of the race. Surprise, surprise, on those slick tyres. Good spot from you earlier on to see that those tyres were without the grooves. Sadly, that was when Will Palmer fell off into the gravel trap. But hugs are all around there.
I will confidently predict that Will Palmer will do a quicker lap this time around, because he has yet to come and complete his 15th lap of the race, stayed on the lead lap. Fenestraz, though, for Tech 1, takes the victory and the final top step of the podium for 2016. I thought that was a very measured race by the young man. Lando Norris seemed to have run out of ideas behind Max de Fournet, and then pulled out what was a very spectacular overtaking manoeuvre, in fairness, but it was too late by that time to bridge the 4 seconds or so. Made a decent fist of it, halved the gap back to Fenestraz, but as I say, probably spent 2 or 3 laps too long behind Max de Fournet, who I thought drove very well as well. So 3 good drives from the guys on the podium.
Yeah, but Max de Fournet needed to take more points out of Dorian Boccolacci than he managed in that race. De Fournet finishing 3rd in the final race of the year, for which you get 15 points. Boccolacci right behind him in 4th. You get 12 points for that, and therefore Dorian Boccolacci cementing 2nd position in the championship behind Lando Norris. Boccolacci finishing the best non-rookie, if you like. But there is confirmation that Lando Norris is the 2016 Eurocup Formula Renault 2-litre champion. And we'll watch with interest to see what Lando Norris does next.
Yeah, what was that last time by Will Palmer? Did he lift off 40? Is that a 45 or a 48?
He came in the pits, didn't he? Was that at the end? Yeah, I think on the final lap he decided to pit for whatever reason.
Okay, yes,
so
agreed.
Bailed out of that final lap. It ended up being over 2 minutes, but he clearly was in a very quick car, and Well, when you start from 14th, maybe a sensible gamble to make, because you never know, the track could have dried up probably 5 or 6 laps earlier, and then he may have been in the equation. Sasha Fenestras, for the second time this year, will stand on the top of the podium, and in fact only his 3rd podium of the year, with a 3rd place in Monza. But he won that rained-off race in Monaco, for which only half points were awarded in the end. But it was Fenestras that won around the streets of the Principality. And again, in tricky conditions here in Estoril, Fenestras has loved the greasy tarmac beneath his tyres and taken a race win by a decent margin in the end. Even though Lando Norris was closing in, Fenestras was able to up the pace a little bit on those well-worn wet weather Michelin tyres, I'm sure, by the end of the race.
I think they stood up pretty well, if I'm honest. As I said during the race, the sports car and endurance guys tell me that coming through from wet to dry, the Michelins are very, very good indeed, and they do give longevity into what would normally be seen as, if you will, intermediate conditions. And they do hang on very, very well. And clearly the same for the single-seater tyres there.
Quick glimpse of Max Stefani there, who stepped out of the car that finished in 3rd position. Here is the official confirmation then of the final race of the year. 15 laps done for Sasha Fenestras, his 2nd victory of the year for Tech 1 Racing. Lando Norris in 2nd place within 2 seconds at the flag. Max Stefani, the Belgian, finishing 3rd ahead of Dorian Boccolacci, who nets 2nd in the championship. Henrik Schavs 5th ahead of Robert Schwartzman, Hugo de Sadelier and Harrison Scott. Bruno Baptista and Marcus Armstrong, I should say, completing the top 10. And Will Palmer, there is confirmation that he did get to the finish, but in the end retiring to the pit lane on that final lap. Let's hear from our race winner, who now is with Julian.
Sasha Fenestras, great way to end this Eurocup season in tricky conditions out there, but you look very much in control.
Yeah, it was quite difficult even the start. I spin out a little bit. But yeah, it was very difficult with this weather, because like the track was very wet at the beginning and slick in the tire in the end. So yes, it was a very good race. I think the tire was gone at the end, so Lando was very fast. Almost he's going to catch me. 5 laps to go, he's going to catch me. So yeah, I'm happy with this season. I finished with a win, with a pole position, so I'm very happy about that.
Sasha, this is your 2nd win of the season. You won in Monaco under the rain as well. You seem to be enjoying yourself out there in that kind of weather.
Yeah, I like the rain. Yeah, that's obviously last year in Formula 4 I drive a lot by the rain. So yeah, I'm very happy about that. Monaco was very good. I have a bit of luck, but now the luck is not here. I drive fast. The car was amazing. The team have an amazing job. So yeah, very good.
Thank you very much, Sasha.
Julien Biot interviewing Sasha Fenestras, who will now head to the podium, and we'll look back on a race that started in damp conditions. The rain's really coming down, by the way, now, which could be interesting for our next race for the Renault Sport Trophy. But up the inside of the race leader, for a moment went Henrik Schavs to lead his home race. One of the SMP cars off in the background. That was Will Palmer's spin, and that's where we spotted that the young Brit was on slick tyres. Really started to come towards him, the race towards the end. But Lando Norris getting at the inside there of Harrison Scott, and there was battling there with Henrik Schavs as well. Schavs going a little bit wide, and that was Lando Norris through into 3rd position. James Allen had a couple of attempts at this, didn't quite work here, and then on the exit of the corner he had another attempt of it later on in the race, didn't he? Gabriel Aubry alongside Alexander Peroni there. Aubry in the purple and white car, getting a position just outside the top 10 after that good move. The 3 SMP Racing liveried cars ran together for much of the early part of the race. Alexander Kornev and Nikita Troitsky together with Alexander Vartanyan. And this was Lando Norris trying every different sort of line to get by Max Stefani. Tried to stab it up the inside there through the first part of the S's, but then the left-hander favoured the Belgian driver. And there was the 45 car running wide. Gisland Cordeel having a moment which we didn't catch in the main race mix. Lando Norris absolutely fully sideways, but still getting the place from Max Stefani, and that was 2nd position. He started to close on the leader from that point on, but just ran out of laps. And this was further battling for the number 5 car ahead of Alexander Peroni. Marcus Armstrong had a job on his hands to keep Bruno Baptista behind, and Baptista left it late before plunging down the inside on the exit at turn number 1. And Sasha Fenestras, for the second time this year, taking the checkered flag for the final round of the year for the Eurocup Formula Renault 2-litre Championship. Lando Norris, the champion for 2016, finishing second on the road, but it was all celebrations down at Tech 1 Racing. Good to see one of the Panis Bartis competition team members there congratulating the Tech 1 mechanics. And Fenestras, who holds dual nationality, both Argentinian and French, quickly into the clutches of the team. And there is an indication of the diagonal rain here.
Wow.
Yeah, very nearly 45 degrees. There's a little bit of wind around today, as you can see with the flags fluttering in the background. And this is going to be a tricky podium. Umbrellas are the order of the day.
Pierre Fillon, closest to us under the umbrella there, the president of the ACO.
And Pierre has done 1 or 2 podium presentations through the course of the year when the Renaults have been on the European Le Mans Series bill. Max Stefani to the 3rd step of the podium, Lando Norris to 2nd, but the star jump from Sasha Fenestras, and there'll be a team representative from Tech 1 Racing as well to go on to that little step to the left of the podium. Here's the national anthem. The Tech 1 team members in full voice there, despite being rained on at from a great height, but they will thoroughly enjoy this evening, I'm sure. Tech 1 had a fantastic race at Spa, getting 3 of their cars into the top 4, I remember, and it's another victory this time for the team, courtesy of Sasha Fenestras. 3rd place trophy to Max Stefani, finishing in the end we'll confirm that in a moment, whether it's 3rd or 4th position in the championship. It's going to be quite a close run thing between Stefani and Harrison Scott. Scott finishing outside of the top 5, and they were only separated by 4.5 points heading into that race. So we'll get the points on the screen very shortly. 2nd place trophy to Lando Norris, without doubt the 2016 champion, and Sasha Fenestras, a victory for him for the 2nd time this year. Slightly delayed, we had the Tech 1 representative there joining the podium halfway through the French national anthem. And nice to have Lando Norris, the champion, as part of this podium. There'll be a separate rookie podium in a moment or two. And Sasha Fenestras is also a rookie. Max Stefani isn't, so we'll have 2 of the 3 drivers back to the podium very shortly. But champagne will be sprayed first of all. Sasha Fenestras very quick, getting the cork out of the bottle there as well to douse his team member.
Going to drink it from the shoe here, isn't he?
Ah, yes.
I'm not sure that's good for the shoe or for the champagne.
Or for the driver. But each to their own, eh? And those shoes won't be used again probably until next season.
Except for now. Squelch.
Yes. Oh well. So here are the points, and Max Stefani does finish ahead of Harrison Scott. 253 points, though, for Lando Norris, a great total from 13 races. Dorian Boccolacci cementing second on 200 points, and Max Stefani sneaking into third position for our race GP, a place he'd lost heading into that race. Harrison Scott slipping to fourth on 172. Sacha Fenestras finishes fifth, courtesy of that victory, 119.5 points. Hugo de Salalia sixth, Will Palmer seventh, ahead of Schwartzman and de Ruvela. Enrique Chaves, the Portuguese, for AVF by Adrian Valles Racing, 39 points for Enrique, 11th position in the championship, ahead of Gabriel Aubry, Julien Falqueiro and Bruno Baptista. So that draws to a close the 2016 Eurocup Formula Renault 2-litre event. The calendar is out, of course, for next year. Winning the team's championship, Josef Kaufmann Racing, so experienced, the German man running Formula Renaults and Formula 3s over the years, and it's another championship going the way of Kaufmann Racing, ahead of Tech 1 Racing and RACE GP. AVF finished fourth. Fortec Motorsports, Richard Dutton's outfit, finished in fifth place. And here is the rookie podium. So Sacha Fenestras, joined by Lando Norris once again, and that'll be Robert Schwartzman, I think, to third place on the podium. The calendar's out, of course, for 2017. We all start again at the end of April. From John Hindhaugh and Johnny Palmer, it's goodbye for now.